Hello and welcome to another episode of Elevate, a DBNC leadership podcast where we have conversations with non-traditional and diverse leaders. Enjoy! My name is Christian Fox, and today we are joined by a very special guest. Sharon, thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. So, Sharon Douglas, I have worked and lived in the region of Peel for probably the last 30 years. I was saying 20 for the longest while, but it's been way over 20.
Right.
Worked in the sector, in the nonprofit sector for the last 20 years. Resigned or retired from United Way, semi-retired from United Way a couple of years ago, where I was the director of community investment. So looking at our relationships and our partnerships and our funding with all of United Way funded agencies. Do consulting work now, really enjoying it, trying to keep that work-life balance we all aim for going, and live here just down the road from here, actually. It's my husband, and we're empty nesters now, so this is also a great time.
Is it good? Is it something that you're enjoying?
I am.
Okay, good.
I am. My husband misses all the kids being around and the noise. I literally love it.
That's
Love it.
good.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So as you know, it's Black History Month.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get your perspective on Black leadership and how would you define Black leadership given today's historical and political climate?
Yeah, thanks for sending the questions ahead of time, too.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
As I read that, I thought, that's an interesting question. And it's a question about Black leadership or leaders who now have the opportunities and the privileges who are Black to be in the positions of leadership. And so I kind of flipped it around and considered, are our leadership styles different from anybody else's? Or do we bring a different je ne sais quoi to, leadership? And I think my response is that we bring a lived experience and a empathy and an understanding of moving up, so to speak, the hierarchy to be able to get to that position of leadership. So I think we bring an awareness of experiences to the table. I think we bring an understanding of what people go through to get there. And I think we bring an openness to it because we come with unique values and understanding. And we also are often quite aware that we have to excel in this role. We have to be good at it.
You have to be the best, right?
We have to be good at it. So we're consciously or unconsciously know in the back of our heads that, we better do this right because we've been given this opportunity, or we have fought and we've gotten to this space. We also know that, again, consciously or unconsciously, that we're actually representing a whole group, which is so unfair.
Right. Yeah. There's
so unfair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's unfair because if you're, not a person of color, then you don't necessarily have that. Okay. Well, if you do something badly, we're going to think negatively of your whole group.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
That's got to be a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of weight. You're representative of a diaspora that is not homogenous, so to speak. But yet, it's almost understood that if you mess up, the next person may not get in as easily or may not have a chance to go forward. So I think and then we bring all of the skills of leadership, again, because there's this need to excel. So everybody needs to have a voice. Everybody, there's democracy, there's understanding, there's inclusion, all of those things. But I think it's more about Black people who are leaders in their positions versus Black leadership. I think it's the same skills, qualifications, values that we are looking for in leaders today that we bring to the table with an additional sort of, I understand oppression. I understand certain things,
So basically the rules that what people are looking for is the same, but people that are Black leaders then have to go above and beyond and really prove themselves
Yeah.
more than the average person might have to.
I would think so. I think they're conscious of proving themselves. Yeah, and I think they also face still some microaggressions in their positions, because as leaders, are we truly equal in our positions as everybody else in the position? And I've lived that where I felt like, but we're all directors here. Why are my questions considered different? Or why, if there's a question about certain things, it's directed to me? And so there is a difference in how it plays out in the workplace. That's interesting, actually. And do we, as Black people in positions of leadership, name it or call it out sometimes, because you have to pick and choose your battles. As a good leader, I would tell you, pick and choose your battles. You can't fight everything, so yeah, that would be my response to that.
Yeah, so you touched on some of the challenges, the fact that, you say you're all directors, but people will ask you specific questions differently, or you might have to decide, well, do I want to challenge this person based on what they said, or do I want to let it go? What are some other unique barriers that you've faced in your various leadership positions?
I think I've been fortunate in that I've not faced overtly a whole lot. But I think the biggest thing is feeling that my voice was equal at the table at the same time. My challenge might have been if there were issues around equity or race or discrimination, feeling, and maybe it was self-imposed, but I think it was understood, the pressure to have to respond to these questions.
Right.
Or feeling that if we are on a journey, does nobody else hear what's being said in this room? And I'm the person that has to say, can we pause for a second here and maybe unpack that? What is the question? Or where are we going? What do we want to communicate? And so we play that double role all the time. Yeah, which also is another layer of stress and pressure and understanding and wanting to be a team leader or a team player with the rest of our leadership, and don't want to be singled out or being challenged, or the person that's seen as challenging people all the time. Yeah, it's an interesting space to be in because there's an expectation of towing the party line. There's an expectation that we all belong, but it doesn't always play out like that. There are times where I felt, why is the process a little different for myself and my team? Why do other teams not have to go through all of these 50 steps to get something done? Or why are we asking more questions of this versus I've seen us past say, oh, everybody approves something with very little information, So, and then I think also as leaders, we question ourselves when we're racialized and we're Black, Am I being sensitive? Am I being overly, conscious? Or am I being, And so there's all these conversations that happen in your head all the time when you're in the role or when you're presenting or making sure that everybody feels included and that you're not just favoring your own Black people in the team. Never mind that everybody else can do that, but Black people cannot do that.
Right, yeah.
Black people cannot be seen to be doing that. Never mind that somebody white, somebody brown, somebody maybe not Asian, but brown, could bring in somebody from their own. But for a Black person, that's not really, we're conscious of these things. It's a lot. You're making me think of all of this, Christian.
Yeah,
that over the years has been,
that's a lot
interesting.
because you're doing all of this as well as then you're also expected to do your job.
Yeah.
Which is also incredibly stressful.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
a lot to manage and to process. Now, for someone who's going into a position of leadership who is marginalized, who is racialized, what advice would you give them?
Know yourself. Know yourself as much as possible. Be true to who you are, too. Be true. I often felt and feel and still strongly feel. Don't compromise who you are, but have integrity. I like to say I walk the talk of what I expose to people, I like to say be courageous. You have to be courageous sometimes. Pick and choose your battles.
Yeah.
Absolutely pick and choose your battles. Know where you want to go. So be strategic. Be really strategic about it, Christian. And think about where you want to go. Make sure you have all your skills in place. Make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's. I had an ED when I first came back out to work after I stayed home with my children. I used to work at City of Toronto, and it was the Equal Opportunity Division at that time. That's how it was called.
Okay.
So I'm really dating myself.
Right.
But I had an ED who actually took a liking to me, and I think it was because she was from Nova Scotia and I'm from Nova Scotia. But one of the things she taught me, which I'd never forgotten, is that one, document everything you do, especially as you move into leadership.
Right.
Document everything you do and follow up after a meeting as a result or the outcomes of our meeting. I just want to be clear. This is what I heard is, do that, document. The other thing is somebody has to be first. So the conversations about whether somebody is token or it's tokenized, somebody has to be first to do it. Because then you'll hear and the first Black woman in such and such, and the first Black man. Somebody has to be. Whether they're considered the token or not, somebody has to break the barrier. And if that's you, then, be aware. Make informed decisions about as you move along that hierarchy. And have fun. Keep it in perspective. Keep it in perspective. It's laugh sometimes. You have to laugh sometimes. You have to laugh sometimes. Enjoy it and separate from it when you can. So yeah, but be true to you. Don't let anybody else define who you are. You define who you are. You define who you are. And you lead how you lead and how you would want to be led. Keep that in mind. That's what I would tell you.
Yeah, I think those are all really useful pieces of advice. And, to document everything, I love that just because my grandpa used to say that all the time. His favorite thing was document everything, write it down, make a note, follow up on emails.
Yeah.
And that's really great just to make sure that, everyone's on the same page and that,
Absolutely.
You're having all the same information. But also just laughing and trying to separate things from, your home life from work and try not to take it with you because, as you say, you're having to almost battle. Like if you think of it that way, you're fighting so many different fights. You're trying to do your job. You're trying to do it well, but then you're dealing with all these other thoughts and feelings about, well, am I being too aggressive? Should I be dealing with this issue that this person said? Should I fight this battle? So it's just like a lot. And I think if you can't laugh, then that's
There's no joy. If you're not enjoying your work at some point in the day,
right.
then what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? What's the point? I've enjoyed, I've grown, I've made mistakes. I've dropped the ball quite a few times. But you learn. And so know that you'll drop the ball and that it's okay. You're not performing heart surgery. You don't want to drop the ball if you're performing heart surgery.
Right.
You don't want to drop the ball.
Do it perfectly.
Exactly.
Right.
But in our work, you're going to drop the ball, and so it's just pick it up and learn from it, and I tell people that all the time. You're going to drop the ball. So it's what you do when you drop the ball that matters most. My mother used to say, you can never call and experience until you've put into practice what you've learned. Then you have had an experience. But if you continue down the same, or you
The
do
same path.
nothing, it's not really an experience, because what did you learn? What did you change? So that's it.
Yeah, I think that's so true. It's like, yeah, you'll always make mistakes, but if you learn from it and go forward, and how you handle that mistake, I think is so important and critical.
That's the growth period. That's the growth in there. That's where you grow, because you won't make that mistake again. You'll learn from, well, what did I do? What was my solution? What was the solution I came up with? And you took ownership for it, Yeah, you know what, Christian? I meant to loop back to you. I got caught up in a few other things, and I'm really sorry. I didn't. I dropped the ball. And so where can we go from here? What can we do from here? But own it. If you dropped it, own it. Own it. Life continues. Just get up and keep moving. Get up, though.
Yeah,
Make sure you get up.
right, exactly.
Get up
Yeah.
and keep moving. Yeah, that would be it, I think. Yeah. That's what I tell
Yeah.
my children. That's what I tell my children. Just, it's okay. It's okay. Life is going to hit you. That's what life is about. It's about dropping and growing and learning, and, things are beautiful for a little while. Something invariably happens. You go through it, you get up, and you move on. Life is not about clean, easy, smooth sailing. I don't even know if it would be interesting like that.
Yeah,
I've never had the
would it-
experience.
Yeah, like what would the point be if there's no conflict or hardship?
Yeah, or
like something to
hiccups.
work through. Yeah, hiccups, exactly.
What would we do? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. So one of the things with Black History Month that I am always curious about and always want to chat about is Black leaders, and maybe some Black leaders who maybe don't get the recognition that they should.
Yeah.
Are there any ones that you that you can think of that?
Yeah, there are probably. That's an interesting question too, because they don't get the recognition, so I probably don't even know them either.
right.
But I think we're all leaders in different ways, and there's a lot of work that takes place, and some people just get more profile if you're in a place, in a position, and have the support that you need around you. But I think there are amazing leaders in our Black community who are just on the ground doing work, who day to day in their church, in their mosque, in their organization you're doing a podcast and focused on Black history. And who will know Christian Fox, outside of Dixie Bloor?
Right,
But it's
yeah.
amazing work, and it's about taking that work and sharing it. And so I think there are a lot of leaders. Because I was interested in journalism at one point, Carrie Best was always big from, where's Carrie from? Oh, God, I want to say New Glasgow. She was from out west, I believe. She was
Okay.
from out west. But I'm saying this online. I should know it exactly. Or on this podcast. I think there are a lot of people out there that we don't know. My mother, but she has a lot of publicity around her, or did. She was amazing. I have cousins who, in Nova Scotia, have been in the public eye and get recognized a lot. But no, there's so many of them out there that's part of the reason for Black History Month,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is to bring those names and those what they have all done out so that people can hear about them. And I think one of the questions that you were thinking of, or I'd read earlier, was around how can we do it more? And I think maybe this would address it. If Black history wasn't just 28 days of the year.
Yeah, right, exactly.
If we did it every day, or not every day, or at least spread it out throughout the year, is there a way that some of these people would come to light? How about the woman who's been running a food bank from her apartment for 15 years and runs around, and so many people, and for those she helped, its life's changing. But nobody would know her. I think of somebody like that who I know, who for 20 years has been running this food bank on her own dime, gets a little bit of funding here and there, but basically out of her own pocket in a Peel Region housing building, but sees that there are people worse off than her. We wouldn't know about her. An amazing woman who I just ran into the other day, actually. And so I think there's lots out there. I think that's the argument for not having Black History Month only in February. I think we have to begin to shift away, just like we're shifting to some extent that our lives didn't begin at slavery, We had a whole history, a whole language, a whole culture, a whole way of being, inventions, innovations, like so many things. Slavery happened, and we continued on. We're survivors, Christian? Let me tell you, Black people are survivors. We are survivors. You can knock us down and we get back up, We're resilient. We're resilient, sometimes to our own detriment, but we're resilient. And so it's like, let's move on. We have so much to offer, and it's not just slavery story. There was a whole story before slavery, and now there's a whole story that's continuing after slavery, that each day and every year it evolves and it changes. And so I think that's where we need to begin to shift Black history. This was us. Let's tell our children those stories of the kings and the queens. And that's why movies like Black Panther and Lion King and all of these things were, or what was that one with, what's her name?
Oh, that just came out recently?
Yeah,
I know. Oh, this is going to bother me.
Yeah, the queen something,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
she was a warrior.
Yep.
And like all of those stories are so meaningful because for some of us, like you would think our lives began at slavery,
Right.
But we had whole communities and villages that were operating within their own political sphere and systems and rules and understandings and nuances. That's why slave owners could come in and, raid whole communities. And then after that, against all odds, even today, against all odds, we still manage to stand and rise and be proud and give back and reach back like the Sankofa Ghanaian, bird. It's about reaching back and bringing. So Black history has to go beyond, February.
Yeah.
And slavery.
Because I feel like, like so many different things you touched on, but the fact that Black History Month happens in February, everybody talks about it, everybody does something for it, we're doing something for it, but then when March happens, it's like, all right, well, we don't need to think about that again. But you're right, it should go beyond just February and a whole history before that, as you touched on.
Yeah. I actually heard a new term just this morning. So what was Afrofuturism is another name or new name around Black History Month. And I thought, Afrofuturism. Because we're moving. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. We're moving. And we've been moving. We're constantly moving and evolving and growing and breaking barriers and breaking, like creating milestones. And like you're always hearing, Black people are always doing something. This one did this. This one did this. This one is the first one here. This is the first time here. I was at the United Way breakfast the other morning, last Friday. And the president of the board, for the first time in the 60-year history of United Way, Greater Toronto, is a Black woman. For the first time.
It's been 60 years. Wow.
60. I was born in Canada. I was born in Cape Breton Island. And there are firsts that are still first. My mother was the first Black president of the Registered Nurses Association of Nova Scotia. And she still is only the first. There's never been another one.
There's never been another one.
And so we're still first. We need to move beyond first.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's the issue. The systemic barriers. We need to move beyond first. That's why we have more leaders, right? In the positions that say, hey, we're here. We went to the same schools, we go to the same universities. We graduate with the same degrees. Why would our stuff be different? You were in the same class next to me. So, what is it there? Anyhow, before I take you down another line, let me pause. Go ahead.
Yeah. So 'cause I know we're a little bit short on time, but I have two more questions. One, what advice would you give to people who aren't necessarily racialized themselves, but want to be able to support more racialized and marginalized leaders?
Well, I'll tell you what I tell them, actually. So to do some of your homework, understand the issues. You have to, it's not a debate or a question whether racism or discrimination exists.
Right, that's the question.
That's passé now.
Yeah.
That's not a question anymore. So you need to acknowledge that it's there. You need to acknowledge that it has an impact on Black, racialized, newcomers, LGBT, everybody. It has an impact on people. You need to be able to not take it personally all the time. And I know sometimes that feels easier said than done. It's like judging us from a slavery lens and perspective and saying that Black people can't do certain things. Yet when we talk about racism, you say it was your ancestors or it was generations ago.
It's not us currently.
Yeah. So if we're to understand that you were not responsible for the systems that we are in, and you graduated with me, can you not understand that the conversations that were 20 years ago do not define who we are today? They do not define us. And so I would say do your homework, understand your own social location. You have to know yourself. And understand that sometimes, you know what? You can empathize, you can support, but it's not your place to speak. You don't have that experience. You can bring to it some stories of how you support and how you want to be able to share and ask people. It's just like how we do work within the with person with different abilities. You ask them, do you want me to help you here? Do you want me to do this? You ask. You do the same thing here. I want to join the group. We have Black Community Advisory Council. We'd have people from all races who want to join the Black Community Advisory Council. And we say, well, it's a Black Community Advisory Council.
Yeah,
So if you want to help, you can help in other ways. But, no, this is not it. So I think it's about understanding the story, knowing yourself, and knowing your own social location, and being authentic about where you can help and what you can do. What you can do, yeah. But we can't do the work alone. So there's a definite space for allies. There is a definite space for people who are not Black to be part of the struggle and to have. If you look at the civil rights movement, you look at the apartheid. There was not just Black people in that struggle. There were Black people,
right,
there were
exactly.
white people. There was everybody in there. So there is a definite role for them, and I think we should open up that space and allow it. But there's also a space where it needs to be just Black people having a conversation.
Right, for sure.
So, yeah, that would be it.
Yeah.
Welcome allies. I welcome allies to the table. I think, and they allow us to see a different perspective too. They enable us to think, oh, so that's what it sounds like to you? Oh, that's not what I was saying, or that's not what I intended to say, and it allows us to say to them, oh, that's how you experience it, and so it creates space to build authentic relationships that are safe and honest and transparent. And I think there's so much value in that, and so much respect it grows then, and understanding grows, and that's just beautiful. I've experienced it many times where it's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful thing where as leaders, we're in meetings, I didn't even have to open up my mouth because an ally said, wow, listen to how that sounds. What are we saying here? And I didn't have to say a word. And so it didn't become a Black woman saying this and the Black woman is sensitive.
Right, yeah.
It was somebody who was an ally who understood and has been on the side with us who said, I don't think the way that should be. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's good. No, I think you make a lot of great points there about the fact that, the space is there,
Yeah.
but also just do your research, understand,
Yeah.
where people are coming from.
Yeah.
I think that's so critical.
Yeah, yeah. And people are not asking you, or maybe they are to validate their experiences. If I tell you I've experienced racism, or in a certain format, your role is not to question whether I have or not, because on some deeper levels, you'll never be able to understand
Right,
what
exactly.
microaggressive behavior feels like, or what exclusion feels like through a racist lens. It's like I used to do work in the violence against women sector, VAW sector, for a while. And one of the first rules was you didn't question a woman's, if a woman
Exactly.
came to the door and said she was abused, we just validated that and moved on with, okay, what can we do?
Yeah, what can we do to support you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a similar thinking that needs to take place when somebody comes by and they're saying, I'm not feeling that sense of belonging. I'm feeling like I'm excluded. I'm feeling like there's a little microaggressive behavior happening here. And it's important because that's how I feel. It's not for you to tell me how I should feel.
Right, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And one final question before we go. If you could go back in time and talk to your 16-year-old self, what advice would you give her?
I don't know. I thought about that question when I read it. I think some of the same things I just told you earlier. Be courageous. Sometimes it's really scary to find your voice and to use your voice and to feel safe and not feel that there's not going to be repercussions, but there are and there will. So don't be afraid to use your voice when you feel safe enough to do so. Be who you are. Be authentic. Be authentic. Be real. I pride myself on being authentic and real and just naming it and calling it. And cross your T's and dot your I's.
For sure.
Cross your T's and dot your I's. And live life, love and have fun and be happy and just do you. Just do you. And I think I've lived my life like that. Yeah, sometimes you have to jump, Sometimes you take a chance, and if it doesn't work, it becomes an experience that you learn from. And, but enjoy your life. Find the joy. Find joy in it, Find joy in it. Even in the days that feel low, find joy and be grateful for what we have, because we're privileged still. In all of this, we're still privileged to some extent. So that's it.
Yeah, no, that's some good advice. And I think, just enjoy life and take some risks. You have to jump sometimes. I think be who you are and be authentic. I think so important.
Yeah.
For sure.
And use your voice when you can.
Yes, definitely.
And remember, others have less than you. Although you think your situation is bad, there's always others that are worse off. And so, find the gratitude in whatever you can find and the silver lining and always give back, always give back, always give back, always give back. Because that's how the world works. Somebody's going to help you and you never know how it'll come around. So always give back, always reach your back and always extend a hand to help, and the rest, God will take care of the rest,
Yep,
Whatever
definitely.
you call it, will take care of the rest, For me, it's faith, it'll take care. So, thank you.
Yeah, that's so true. But thank you so much for coming in today. It's been a very good conversation.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And thank you very much for inviting me. I really appreciated the opportunity to just talk about, what I always love talking about. So.
Yeah, that's excellent. Anytime.
Thanks, Christian. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.